period. Everyone, Andrew Hall here. That's me and Big Zebra. It's right over there, over there, over there. That's where Big Zebra is. How are things going for me? Good. I got home at a decent time last night. I celebrated my youngest taking their SATs and their AP history exam, and I shelled out more money that I don't have, but that's what I'm supposed to do, right? Tobin, is this your birthday?
Sure enough.
Sure enough. Well, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Mr. Tobin.
Congratulations.
There's a weird
I think it's me.
No, it's your voice is fine. It's funny the way the light reflects, it puts a bright patch to the left of your head. It's kind of interesting. They look like a pair of boots or something.
Wild Heart.
It's Wild Heart.
The man, the legend.
Hello, how's it going? Cheers.
Hello,
Hey.
sir.
What's up, Wild Heart?
Lordy.
So congratulations on making
yes.
another trip around the sun, Tobin.
I did it once again. Woo woo.
Yeah.
The ultimate marathon. The you were saying that this this article suggested that there was a way Putin can win.
Well, that was my analysis. I think that if the Republicans get into the House and the Senate and they gum up the works enough in terms of giving, because let's face it, the U.S., though it is a major power, it is the power in terms of supporting and organizing the resistance in Ukraine. And if the U.S. suddenly disappeared, or if we became less supportive of the Ukrainian regime and their fight against Putin, I think that just leaves the Europeans. And
Well, I wouldn't trust them.
what's that, Wild Heart?
I wouldn't trust them. Don't trust the Europeans to do anything. No.
Well, I didn't want to be that guy who was here in the States who just shits over the Europeans. But
Interesting. I just I wonder if Biden is trying to pass a $40 billion aid package right now for Ukraine, and I'm just wondering. I think that would be the signal if it doesn't go through.
Well, right now the Democrats are still in power, of course, in the House and the Senate, and things are still relatively popular here in the States about the conflict in Ukraine. But you can see that if there becomes a lot of once again, the Republicans take the House and the Senate, then would that money go, in like a year from now, let's say, and assuming that and guessing, hypothetically, the Republicans are in charge of the legislature, would Biden be able to get the votes for aid to Ukraine? And that's maybe the reason why he's trying to push so much money out there right now towards Ukraine.
Instead of $2 billion at a time, as happened before.
Throw it out there, man. Because the thing is, he can't trust the House or the Senate in a year. He can't trust what's going to happen. And so
there's also another workaround. There's another workaround for Biden, because suppose there are regular requests for money from the military.
Yeah.
So the military can request more money for replenishing whatever. Yeah. And then Biden can just order the military to pass it over. And that's a Trumpian way of doing things, of course. Yeah. But screw it. It's time to play dirty.
There's no doubt that the American president is the commander in chief and has a lot of power over the military, and hopefully Biden would be able to still support Ukraine even with fascists basically holding the legislature, hopefully. But if I was Biden right now, I'd be throwing as much money as I could at Ukraine, as much supplies as I could.
Don't want the Ruskies in charge. No.
What's that?
We don't want the Ruskies in charge.
Oh, well, there's a reason why the Ukrainians they have history. There's a lot of beef between Ukrainians and the Russians. I don't have the number off the top of my head how many people Stalin starved in the Ukraine. during the 30s, but it was millions. It was just millions of people.
I think it was like 8 million.
Yeah,
that's when Canada got a huge number of Ukrainian refugees,
that's right.
And they sort of settled the West.
And once again, the Ukrainians, right after the Russian Revolution, during the Russian Civil War, the Ukrainians were saying things like Soviets without communists, right? Because they didn't like what was going on in Moscow. And a few invasions later, because it took a couple of times for the Russians to get it right, the Ukrainians were under the Soviet control. And Lenin, there was this discussion about whether or not to let Ukrainians just go their own way, just like Finland did or the Baltic countries did. And Lenin basically said, that's crazy talk. Ukraine is too important to us. We can't let them go.
It's amazing that Russia is so enormous, but Ukraine is the breadbasket. It's the ultimate breadbasket.
Well, most of that. I mean, you look at a lot of what's in Siberia, and you can't really say right now, or historically speaking, Siberia has been a great place to grow anything besides fruit, maybe. So yeah.
It was a great place to put prisoners, though.
Oh yeah,
cool off those hotheads.
If you're gonna do your gulags, you want to do it where it's cold and nasty, where the weather itself is punishment, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I was thinking where is not a good place to keep prisoners, but yeah. You want it cold? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
There's a strange thing. I every so often I get defeated by a classic, in the sense that you're trying to read something and you just can't finish it.
Mm-hmm.
And one of mine was the Gulag Archipelago. I read the first volume and I couldn't take any more. I couldn't pick up number 2.
That is just a fucking train. I'm sorry, I just swore on my own.
Go ahead.
That is a train of dysfunction and horror. You know, it's rough. It's a rough road, to say the least.
I really lost it when a bunch of these guys were being kept all together in one large prison cell, and a few days would go by, and they'd call someone's name. They'd leave, never come back, but you'd hear a gunshot in the background.
Yeah.
And this guy whose name was called out, he went to the mirror, sort of cleaned himself off, put his hat on just right, and Solzhenitsyn realized, oh, this guy is just eking out a few more seconds of life via delay.
Yeah.
And I was just so horrified by it.
Horrible stuff. And while the Tsar would banish people out to Siberia, that was like a Russian tradition going back centuries. It was Stalin who really industrialized torture out there.
I also read One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich, which is a much better read. It's a shorter read, and it describes this guy's day in a sort of gulag prison camp. And the poor man, the thing is that by the time you've ended the book, you realize that everything that day went absolutely perfectly. He got an extra serving of food. He got a little extra this. Got to work indoors, where the windows have been blown open, but they got some cover.
Yeah,
and everything that day went right, and it was still absolutely horrible.
Stalin, I think I've told this story before, in the midst of the purges, I forget which party congress it was, basically a big meeting to talk about what's going on in the party. He walked out on stage and everyone stood to applaud, and they just kept applauding, and they just kept applauding, and they just kept applauding, because they were afraid to be the first. Everyone in the crowd was afraid to be the first one to sit or to stop, clapping their hands.
Yeah.
And that is just crazy power, right? And Stalin had to basically, after standing there for quite a while, he had to be like, sit down, bitches. You can sit down.
I remember seeing Saddam Hussein in a similar situation, but in front of Parliament. Some people were being arrested, like one at a time, and taken away. Obviously, they were going to die. And people started cheering him, and some people even got down on their hands and knees and did the worship thing with their arms up and down.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was just horrifying. And he had a big smile on his face, the bastard.
Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
I've seen that footage, yeah.
You know, it's interesting because you don't want to be the person who is too sycophantic, I think. You know, like if you're the first guy that starts like bowing and stuff, you could be the one who's like,
that's annoying, yeah.
It's like you might be a little bit too motivated, but you get enough people bowing and doing that, then you might be safe. You know, it's difficult because if you know, in a dysfunctional system like that, in a tyrannical authoritarian system, it's like you don't want to stand out too much, I would imagine, right?
You got to judge it just right between being too keen and you got to get the balance right.
It sounds a bit like high school, only with higher stakes.
Well, I'm sorry, but I'm sure all of us here who are older than high school age realize, and there's like a moment as an adult, the horror of realizing that this is just high school
all over again. Yeah,
you know, this is just high school, and it's you try to escape it, but it's like people are still the same in social situations, or at least like there's still clickiness, there's still this prime, this midbrain monkey thinking that goes on.
Lordy.
So I chose to have a fight with Reductress this morning. I wrote a post that I put it in the chat about one of the Reductress, which is a great satirical site. Did a post about, which I thought was basically disincentivizing voting. They kind of like, was shitting on voting. And so I had to write a short piece about it. It wasn't even funny, to tell you the truth. It wasn't even, I didn't even do satire in response to their satire. But this isn't the first time I picked a fight with other comedians, and it probably won't be the last one.
Yeah. No,
it's not a bad fight to pick.
Yeah, I thought it was necessary because the thing is about people on the left, and this is one of the reasons why we lose, is that unlike the right that comes with 1 bullet point, 2 bullet points, 3 bullet points, and everyone says the same thing. The left, we just love shooting ourselves in the freaking head repeatedly, and it just, especially as we get closer to the election, to the midterms, it just bothers the crap out of me.
Yeah, there is some people that have like an apathy towards it, or they treat politics like they're gangs or something like that.
Yeah. Well, what's so I was at my I had a hang with the normies the other night, by the way. I don't know if I didn't get a chance to talk about this too much, but I got to hang with the normies, and I was at my girlfriend's holiday party last Saturday. And, it was a holiday. It's been pushed back a number of years, to tell you the truth, and months because of COVID. But we all got together. And in those situations, I just try to have 1 or 2 really good conversations. And if I can get a couple of good conversations in a bunch of people I don't know, then I think I'm fine. I think I'm good. So I was talking with this woman, brilliant woman, who is from India. And so it turns out that that she's from the home province. I believe it's a state, the home state where Modi, the Prime Minister Modi, is. And so we started talking, and we started off talking about being vegetarian because we're both vegetarians. And then it was interesting as we started talking about patriarchy, as we started talking about authoritarianism, she kept saying a couple of times that I'm not political. And I'm going, because she was my new friend, and because I hadn't been drinking too much, because I was behaving myself, what I really wanted to say is that, how the hell can you, being a brown-skinned woman here in the States, after this Supreme Court thing, and also growing up where you grew up, how can you not be political? Because guess what? We're political creatures. You may not want to be political, but guess what? You already are political. you know, this is we, as I think it was Aristotle who said, we are political beings. But she had to leave. She had to leave before I could say that, you know, a little more eloquently. Tobin, you look literally half your age. Deep Parks.
Damn. Thank you.
But you know, the last time I hung out with my girlfriend's coworkers from a couple of years ago, I called one of her coworkers a effing racist.
That's great.
Was he an effing racist? To be fair, was he an effing racist?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right, okay. Yeah, fair.
So you know, it wasn't intentional, but I might have been drinking, and it was really crowded. And I'm telling, you know, if this is my girlfriend, and I'm going, well, she's just an effing racist, and I turn around, and the camera is the woman, you know, who I'm calling racist. It was right out of a comedy movie. Yeah, right out of The Office. You're right. So I decided not to do that this time because I'm always thinking maybe I'm not going to get invited to these things in the future, and I gotta like play it. I gotta play it cool.
Yeah.
Yes, all right. Happy birthday, Tobin, by the way. Yeah, I don't know you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what are you doing on your birthday, Tobin? What are you doing? Anything special?
I'm gonna make music. I'm just gonna play some songs and stuff. I'm gonna jam out.
That's good, man.
Always good.
Do what you want to do, you know?
Might go bowling too. I don't know. Definitely, I think there's some Starbucks in the future. I think, yeah.
Right.
10-pin bowling, I hope.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds fun. Now,
5-pin bowling is for kids.
Are you working today?
No.
No. Cool.
Kendra was on top of it, and she made sure to note it on the little calendar up at work. So we are both getting to enjoy the time. Just gonna hang out with the family.
That's good.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Excellent.
Do you have any new insight being a year older?
Have a good time, you know. Just have a good time. Yeah.
Is that what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I doing this wrong? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
I'm just
Andy, you bring me a smile every day, even though we're talking about serious stuff. You know, we find a little something to laugh about.
That's good. That's good.
Even in the Siberian Gulag.
So I was telling the girlfriend, she was just getting out of bed, and because I've been up since 5:45 this morning, and I was telling about how productive I'd been, and I was singing and humming my little song, and I'm telling about how I wrote the post and got the show ready, and I'm feeling good to take another big bite of the shit sandwich.
That is awesome, sir.
Yeah. I don't know why I'm not depressed, to tell you the truth. I'm more anxious than anything else, but I think it's just the luck of the draw, genetically speaking. Because I look at my numbers and I'm going, I don't know why I'm not depressed, but I'm a pretty happy guy.
Well, speaking of which, we should remember to share the posts on Only Sky on Facebook and Twitter.
Oh yeah, please do, because that's helpful. That is I'm really bad typically at promoting my own work.
You wouldn't need a Facebook account, I presume, to do that. That rules me out. Yeah.
Oh, that rules you out.
No.
Theo says I turned 36 at the 2nd of May, and now I'm no longer mid-30, but I'm pushing 40. Yeah, the math is when you start thinking about that. I am 53. I'll be 34 this year. Oh, well, I remember my 30s. I had a good time during my 30s. Did a lot of bad behavior too. But I'm wiser. I'm wiser and slower now in my 50s. So
it's harder to run. Yeah, it's harder to run away from trouble. Yeah.
It is hard to run away from trouble. But sometimes trouble finds you. Yeah, well, yeah. So right now I'm 53. I have one more birthday that I can be like, well, I'm closer to 50 than I am to 60, because that just scares the crap out of me just saying it. So, yeah.
Yeah,
See
it's
me
coming up for me too.
Yeah, see me in a couple of years, and then I'll be in another crisis point. Yeah, probably.
I don't even know where my prostate will be in 2 years.
Well, it isn't going to be doing laps. That's what it's not.
Exactly.
It's going to be sending you apology letters. That's what it'll be.
Where is it in zebra? Like hindquarters or? I don't know.
Oh, nothing. It just takes your bladder is never really quite empty. It's one of those things. It's a lot of fun. You go to the bathroom a lot more. You become much more familiar with your bathroom.
John Hudson says, I'm spending thousands today having another well drilled on the back of the property. So
drill
is that
for oil, John Hudson? You're in Texas. Drill for oil.
Yes.
I know that.
Indeed.
Might as well make a bit of money while you're at it,
Yeah. So I'm assuming that you're drilling a well because you need or you want more water there, and it's not because the other well has gone dry. Because
that could be a problem. Yeah, that's not going
to be a problem. Yeah. Frack that oil out, John. Yeah, indeed. And that is quite a project. Yeah. So when I was a kid,
it's like rock over where he's at.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Yeah. There's like hardly any dirt. You might get like that far before you hit rock.
That's tough.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, my dad decided to dig a well in the backyard, and by saying that he decided to dig a well, that means he hired a couple of guys to come in with a with a hoe. Is that the proper term? Big steam
backhoe.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
And how he decided where to dig the well is that he had a guy with a divining rod.
Oh yeah.
Wild Hearts,
like those metal sticks where they
the metal sticks.
Right? Always a mistake. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I find my prostate gland.
I thought you just followed the stream. A steam shovel.
Yeah.
John Hudson says he just wants more water. That's good. That's nice. So yeah.
Sorry, I think I scuttled your talk. Tell us more about the well.
No, it's weird in the fact that my dad, who is besides being a religious guy, he was pretty rational, right? Angry, crazy, but rational. But he decided to go with the divining rod, with a professional who he paid to find, water.
Of course, if you watched your great granddad do it and your dad did it, you're going to do it too, probably.
I just wonder what qualifications you need to get that job as a professional diviner. Or
that's a good question.
I think they're called. What qualifications would you need for that?
I can't know.
You have to find those two metal rods somewhere. Yeah. So you got to find those.
I think that's nice. Yeah. Once you got them, yourself.
So they did find water, but it wasn't a lot of water. So what they had to do was to create this reservoir, this kind of like area that the well could pump water out of. So and it wasn't drinkable water, of course, because we were living in Brockton, and you don't want to drink the water anywhere near Brockton. It was a large industrial city at one time. Well, John Hudson says, well, where I'm at, there's about a 14 to 20 inch topsoil before hitting the limestone. Interesting.
Oh, okay. I hope that's good.
I have I hope the best for the water. That's what I'm hoping. So Varma is in the back room. Varma, we have a policy here on the show that you either have to be part of the community, as in you have to watch a couple of videos and comments so that we know that you're not someone who's going to porn bomb us, or someone on the panel, or maybe even in the chat, who we know will vouch for you. Otherwise, we can't let you on.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the official policy of the channel, and which I would say that I've been exceptionally good at.
I would say that's a very sensible policy. Yeah,
that's a very sensible policy. Yeah. There was someone, I think Tobin and Big Z were here for this, that last week or maybe a week before that, had a video loop of a young woman. So it looked like there was someone, like a real person, waiting to come on, but it wasn't.
She wasn't responding, and she was sort of bopping to music as she sat there.
Right. So we
as you know, Steve, Richard Madsen does like hold two fingers up in front of your face. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
that's smart. That's smart. I like that. I'm gonna remember that, Wild Heart. So what we did was that we closed the show early to talk to this person. Of course, we realized it was just a person on video loop. So yeah.
Yes, not good.
No.
And plus, we didn't get to see any porn. That's a real shame.
Yeah.
Well,
in my experience, it's largely gay porn. Not that there's anything wrong with gay porn. It's just it's not my cup of tea. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But yeah, nothing wrong with it.
John.
Cheers, John.
John.
Do you need to be bailed out, Theo? Do you need to be bailed? I mean,
yeah. Don't look at me.
Yeah.
No, man.
I have bailed someone out of jail. It was an unusual experience. He was an employee at my family's bookstore, and he called us and said, "Yeah, I didn't pay parking tickets, and they've got me here. Can you come bail me out?" So I did. And it turns out he was actually a budding criminal and even broke into my family's store after being fired and tried to steal the float.
Oh, wow.
And,
so
the police got him, though, so that was funny.
So in the back room, by the way, so we can see the private chat here, is that the is that he basically throws maybe 14 N-words comments down.
Yeah, I'd be cautious. I'd go steady, yeah.
You know, the system works, everyone. The system works here that we get to keep out the trolls. And so, yes.
Yes, the N-word repeated over and over again. It's
very classy. Very classy.
Yeah.
But that's what you would expect with trolls.
It smacks of 12-year-old boy, frankly.
That it does. Well, that 12-year-old boy is probably smacking right now. So, you know.
Yeah.
Doing something with his time.
All
right. Well, I think this was a high note right there, and I'm going to close the show out on a high note. Tobin, have a great birthday, sir. Enjoy yourself. Do the bowl and do whatever.
Yeah, have a good one.
Wild Heart, always a pleasure. Always
Cheers.
a pleasure.
Thanks a lot for letting me on. Yeah, thanks a lot.
And Big Z, always a pleasure, sir. Everyone in the chat, thanks a lot. Doing the same crazy thing tomorrow.
Shamla Hamla.
Shamla.